Welcome to True You Ministries, the Christ-centered podcast for Christian women ready to stop struggling beneath the surface and experience deep, lasting healing. If you love God, but still wrestle with anxiety, rejection, people-pleasing, or emotional wounds, you're not alone. And you're not broken. Each episode helps you break false beliefs, heal at the root, renew your mind with biblical truth, and walk confidently in your identity in Christ. If you're ready to break lies, heal deep, and walk free, you're in the right place. And welcome to the True You Ministries podcast. With me today is a very special guest, Marty Webb. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited about the conversation that we're going to be having today. And for those of you that have been watching or listening for any length of time, you will have heard me talk about the woman who introduced me to the Genesis process, which is the foundational work that I do with all of my clients. And today you get to meet her. Marty was the one that I remember when you approached me and asked me if I would be interested, and I was newly married at the time, not even a year yet, I don't think. And that was the beginning of everything else to come that the Lord was going to do in my life and the calling that he had on my life and where I am today. And it was because you stepped out and you asked me that simple question, and I said yes to it. And I remember, Marty, when I got started in, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I say yes to?
Yes, I think a lot of people say that to Genesis process. Yes.
Yeah. But I was not going to give up. And I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so grateful to have you on the show today. And before we even get into the questions that I have for you, let me share with our audience a little bit about you. So Marty Webb is an author, speaker, relational care pastor, and joy builder who is passionate about helping people experience deeper relationships with God and others through the transforming power of appreciation. Drawing from scripture, neuroscience, and decades of ministry, Marty teaches that appreciation is far more than good manners. It is heaven's language, a way of seeing life that renews the mind, strengthens relationships, and awakens joy. She is the author of Appreciation, Heaven's Language, and is the founder of the Joy Connective, where she equips individuals, churches, and leaders to build cultures of appreciation, emotional resilience, and relational health. Love that. Relational health, that emotion. Yes, we so desperately need it. So why don't we get started? So what inspired you to write Appreciation, Heaven's Language, and what message were you hoping readers would take away from it?
That's such a great question, because at this stage of my life, about a year and a half ago, my son said to me, because he strategizes with me at this stage of my life and what I want to do and where I'll be and in a year or 2 years or whatever, 3 years. And he said, asked me the question, Mom, where would you want to be in 5 years? And I said, alive, because I'm up there. I'm not 40. And so then he said, okay, Mom, I got it. How about 3? And I go, I don't think I can even say 3, but I can say 1. And he said, so, okay, Mom, you create a lot of stuff. What would that message be? And it popped into my head immediately because of the work I'd been doing. I want people to know how important appreciation is and how it changes your life, their lives for good. And so he said to me, then Mom, hone in on that. And that was the beginning of me writing the book. Now, the story behind all of that was I had joined a group about 3.5, 4 years ago. And I was introduced to it by a friend. And that friend said, hop on. When I hopped on this call, I instantly went, this is different. Wow. And the way the call went was, you don't have to share anything. You just get to be you. And let's begin by just quieting. Wow. I went, okay, so it's not intrusive. I don't have to share anything. And so we quieted. And when we quieted, the question was, Lord, would you bring a memory to mind when each of us felt peace or whatever, joy, or someone we could be thankful for.
Yeah.
When that happened, it was like I noticed it was different. And I began, as I practiced it week after week with them, I began to notice the difference it made in my life. it changed my life. And I'd walked through a lot of
Mhm.
inner healing and growth and studying the word and been in leadership, but
Yeah.
nothing changed my life like appreciation. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
the basis of when I started it. So
Yeah.
that's how the book got birthed.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I've been thinking a lot about it too. I've read your book and I love it. And it, I know when we initially talked about this, we talked about the difference between gratitude and appreciation. So I'd like for you to expand on that a little bit. Explain in your book, you explain that appreciation is more than gratitude. So
Mm.
what is the difference, right? And why does it matter in our daily lives?
I think gratitude is the beginning. It awakens our heart,
Mm-hmm.
and appreciation sustains it. And
Mm.
let me explain that. It's kind of like this. Gratitude starts the fire, appreciation keeps it going. And in that, the difference is gratitude is you're giving thanks to the giver, which
Mm-hmm.
we all should do, whether it's the
Right.
Lord, whether it's people in our lives, or a teacher that blessed us when I was in the third grade. Showing gratitude is thanking them for what the gift was they gave you. What appreciation is settling in and seeing the impact of
Mm-hmm.
what that place of gratitude takes you to. So what
Right.
gratitude does is it turns on your relational circuits, which are a bit of
Mhm.
our brain, that we can then become relational
Mhm.
when we then notice what we see and take in fully what that beautiful thing was they did for us. And
Right.
it then becomes that place of appreciation then takes a whole new demeanor inside of us, because now we have circuits that are not only thankful and grateful for the person, but now what that did for us, how it changed our life, and how God was the one that initiated that. I have a story, a quick
Yeah.
story. I have a
Yeah.
family member who said to me years ago when I was in really deep trouble,
Hmm.
really walked through a lot. And I was in the midst of a very dark time, and I was just about starving to death. I was like, I had lost my place in being a leader, and I didn't know where I was heading. And my son-in-law said to me, "Mom, I'm tired of seeing you struggle. I'm taking on your living expense for now."
Oh, wow.
I can't tell you, I could be reduced to tears right now,
Sure.
because he came to me in a time of need, and the gift, I thanked him for the gift, but I'm going to tell you, it lives on in my heart today, because God provided him as a source for me, but it was my son-in-law.
Right.
And it was
Yeah.
so special, and then I
Yeah.
thank God because God sent him. And so in appreciation, you get to experience all the beauty and the
Yeah.
depth of what the
Mm.
gift was. That's really a great story, and I haven't used it,
Yeah.
but it's a great story for why it makes such a difference to dwell in appreciation and how you grow in it.
Absolutely. And I can attest to that as well. And it's the example of you. And I look back and I go, and I know there are no coincidences. God just orchestrates everything, right? You know, we met at work, and you were the one that approached me about the Genesis process. And I didn't know what in the world that was, but I knew that I needed something. And in that process, not only, and I tell people I was saved twice by Jesus, right? So, first time with salvation, and then he saved my life again because I met you and you provided a way to healing those deep wounds that I had that nothing else was able to do. And in that process, God was prompting me to take this to women. And I didn't know what that was going to look like, but it started the motion of me fully walking in the calling that he placed on my life long before I ever knew him. And I can't even begin to tell you the appreciation I have for you in being so instrumental and a catalyst for where I am today. It's a straight line back to you. Why I'm here right now doing what I am doing is because of you. And because God just put us together to be able to do that.
That's right. I'm humbled, and thank you for sharing that. But the real truth is that God knew all along that we would be people that would enter into people's lives, and for ourselves and for them, that would be strategic moments of healing and wholeness and finding purpose and living out that purpose. So it's just so the Lord
really
he's the
is.
only one that can do that. We could have never made that happen, Stacy.
No, not at all. And I think about how the Lord even brought this woman in a dance class that I was in. I was there to be in a dance class, and yet the Lord had something else in mind. And she and I are still friends 30 years later, being led by the Lord to come to know him through her. And I'm going, only God can make these connections, because on our own, as you said, we're not able to do that.
Yeah. And one of the things I have to say is, back when we met, I wouldn't have necessarily seen the Lord with me. I was prompted to take that job, and you were going to be one of my overseers and all of that, and helpers actually in the position.
Yeah.
But now that I look back and see it, I can see Jesus orchestrating every part of that.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it, is awareness. Appreciation brings awareness of God's goodness, God's goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. So then you write that appreciation reflects the heart of God. How do you see God modeling appreciation throughout Scripture and in our relationship with him?
One of the things I noticed when I started the Joy Connective, this was actually before I did the book, I would see people and they weren't as excited about it as I was. They would go, oh, yeah, appreciation. Yeah, we need to appreciate more. Yeah. And it was like, how can I get you to take hold of this? Then I thought of heaven. And I thought all that will be in heaven is joy, praise, worship, adoration. And I thought of appreciation. That's what appreciation does. Is it turns on those places where we're able to see the goodness of God. He delighted in what he created.
Yeah.
He created, when he created the world, he did it. And when he was done, he said, it is good. It is very good. He appreciated what he had created. And so I thought, if he can do it, and if heaven is going to be filled with adoration, I want to be practiced and ready for that. I don't want to walk. I often thought, what will we see? But what are we going to hear? Only going to hear words that are of positive, that are uplifting, that are joy-filled, that are where we're going to worship him. All those things are parts of appreciation that we get to bring to earth. So we get to bring heaven's language to earth's complaints. And when we do that, and earth's criticisms, when we do that, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that stimulated me to think of the book and write it from heaven's perspective.
Yeah, I really like that. I think we need more of that because of where we are right now in time. And even for some of us that maybe grew up in households with a parent or two that everything was doom and gloom, or there was complaining, or there was judgment, or there was criticism. And it's really hard. And I speak from my own experience. I'm very well aware of when I kind of get that way, I'm going, okay, what's going on inside with me? What am I feeling right now? Not just emotionally, but in my body as well. Am I not connected to God as deeply as I would like to be today? That kind of thing. And so it's so easy to complain about something and be critical or judgmental. And I have moments in my own life where my dad was dying. And so there was grief around that. He had Parkinson's and dementia. And yet the Lord was doing some amazing healing work in the relationship with him. And I was holding both joy and grief at the same time. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate what the Lord did in that. And unless you experience it yourself, it will not make sense. Holding both grief and joy, right?
Yeah. Yes. Because sometimes I think people think if I am just to be positive all the time, it's not about being positive all the time. It's about finding the goodness of God in the midst of my hard circumstance and being able to have both of them present.
Yeah.
Knowing that he is ultimate and he loves me and he has the answer for me and he's with me. A lot of the whole concept of joy is as we find appreciation and do appreciation, it increases our joy, because joy really means I'm glad to be with you. So that turns on our relational circuits, and Jesus is always with us. And so often we're not trained to look for him. We're not trained to sense him. We're not trained to be aware of his presence. And appreciation absolutely cultivates that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think about the work that we do in the Genesis process, especially around the protective personalities, where there is that question as you start working through giving up that, releasing that protective personality, right? Where it is an exercise of inviting Jesus into the moment, the trauma, if you will, and having that healing, right? And I know that there are people that have experienced such horrific things in
Yeah.
life, and this could be hard for them to want to see where Jesus was in that. But I think it's really important for us to be able to see Jesus in the hard places, in the traumatic places, right? It's easy when things are going great, but the harder work and the larger challenge is, did we know that he was there with us? And what did he ultimately protect us from? What was he doing there? And I love with client after client, when they do that exercise, what I find to be so beautiful is that Jesus shows up in the way that they need him to show up, so that they know it's him.
That's right. He knows how he created them. He knows their DNA. He knows everything that ever happened to them. And he knows the way. He knows the way for them to thrive and heal. And yes, it's so beautiful, because here's what I see. I see that's a part of inner healing, that protective personality thing is, and I think all of us, especially people that have had trauma, sense I need healing, but we're scared to go there and really when Jesus is there, it's so wonderful, because we realize we were never alone. He was with us, and he takes us out of that place. But actually, they say adding the piece of appreciation is equally, if not more important. Practicing that versus the other. So people that are scared or fearful of doing that because of what that entails, if they will begin to embrace, and I have in the book some ways you can do that. Morning, be thankful for what nature is. Be thankful for your cup of coffee, whatever. At noon, think of someone that you could be grateful for and show appreciation to. And then at dinner or at bedtime, maybe just reminisce over one thing you could be thankful for the day. You do that. They say if you do that 3 times a day for 30 days, 5 minutes, concentrating and thinking about what you saw, what you heard, and really just taking that in and sitting in it, you'll rewire your brain. So it's equally as important, but you're so right. Getting Jesus to those places is really all we need, because once he's there, hey, we're not alone. We're not isolated. We're not stuck in those 6 big emotions. Yeah.
Absolutely. So on to the next question that I have for you, and I know we talked a little bit about it, but I'd like you to expand even more, is why do you believe heaven is a place that celebrates, honors, notices, and rejoices? And what can we learn from that perspective here on earth? And I think about, again, where we are right now in the world with so much going on, so much chaos and a lot of division and all of that. How important is it for us to be practicing that appreciation here on earth right now?
I think once we know him, and it's amazing how many people I think today in crisis are knowing and turning to God, because it's not fun seeing the chaos and the crisis that we're living in. It's not fun watching what's going on. But once we receive him, or we acknowledge God in our lives, we get to bring heaven to earth.
Yeah.
And so we take kingdom living from heaven and bring it to this cosmos, chaotic world. And that's where we make the difference. Every one of us make a difference in our own personal sphere or world. And so bringing heaven to earth, his principles, he says in his word, whatever is pure, whatever is good, whatever is true, think on those things. So there's reasons he said that. And then as I've already quoted, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. So as we draw on his set of principles, his godly character, love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, fruit of the Spirit, fruit of who he is. We draw on his characteristics and we bring it to earth, and don't dwell in the negative. We're wired by nature to notice the negative, because we are wired with those 6 hardwired emotions at birth that are isolating, but they're also what save us. It's sadness, and anger and anxiousness and
Mhm.
overwhelmed. And
Mhm.
those kinds of emotions isolate us and make us feel alone. When all
Mhm.
along, kingdom living wants to be on earth. And that's his
Yeah.
presence, and acknowledging that he is with us, and then touching and taking his kingdom to others into our
Mhm.
world. So that's
Mhm.
why I think
Mhm.
it's so important. Really, we're
Yeah.
all products that have, we're all people that have a purpose, and living that purpose. This is part of living your purpose.
Yeah. I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm also thinking about for listen, none of us gets out of this life without some sort of trauma that we've experienced. And I know that it impacts our nervous system. And
Mhm.
you can feel peaceful emotionally, but yet the body is still
Yeah.
experiencing that trauma that's there. It's in, especially for those of us that do sit in front of people and we're hearing their stories, right? So I don't become part of their story. I'm there to hear, to receive, to provide that support, a heart with ears, if you will. And while emotionally I do really well with separating, right, and not becoming part of what's
Mhm.
going on there, my body is absorbing
Mhm.
all that I'm hearing. And so, how do
Mhm.
you think appreciation can even help our bodies regulate so that we're
Mhm.
not in that state of anxiety? Because I feel it. I remember early on when I was walking through Genesis process with you, you had said to me that I was hypervigilant. I still am
Mhm.
because safety is so important to me. And I feel it in my body when I am not feeling safe. Even though emotionally I feel safe, my body, I'm on high alert, my head's on a swivel. And not to the extent that it used to be, but how can appreciation help someone like me that experiences that hypervigilance?
And Stacy, you're not the only one. I think that
Yeah.
really, when we look at it, all of us probably have some safety issues, that stress, that
Yeah.
anxiety, that addiction to take pain away. What I've learned, and this was so amazing because I was, I think, out of touch with my own body. And I lived with a mom who was really, she never had pain ever. She never experienced pain. And
Oh,
I
wow.
first thought it was good. I think later I realized, no, that's not a good thing. So I grew up with that. And she
Hmm.
was positive and there was nothing negative. I thought it was the right way. But when I
Hmm.
found out that really what we're doing is we have to quiet our body, because the body is the canvas of our brain. And
Yeah.
so whatever's going on in our body is going on in our brain. And we're out of relational circuitry when we're in that place. And
Hmm.
so as we do breathing and just calming, being still,
Yeah.
and sitting in that stillness and letting go of all the things that race through our mind, letting go of all that tension in our body. Just
Hmm.
actually, when I lead people in it, there's actual exercises. We just imagine, we just sit and let our body look at where our body is and let our body relax. It
Yeah.
sometimes takes more time than others because we may have
Right.
more anxiousness, may have more stress during the day. But as we
Right.
do that, we begin to calm and quiet. When we begin
Hmm.
to calm and quiet, our body and our heart synchronize. And then we can begin to see and hear the Lord. So, like for instance, timeouts. You know
Hmm.
how you're in a discussion with your husband, or you're telling a child, "Oh, go take a timeout." Timeouts
Hmm.
won't do any good unless we
Right.
quiet. So when we're in anger and we're husband wife in conflict, we're not going to accomplish anything while we're angry. So
No.
we need to go and breathe and find out where we are and calm and ask Jesus to come and be with us. Then when you come back, there's 4 people in the conversation instead of 2 kids that are adults fighting. Because
Right.
that's really sometimes what it is. Whatever we
Sure.
encountered when we were young, we take it into our marriage. It's so important to do that. And that
Yeah.
is something that I believe has come in these last 25 years of understanding the importance of doing some body work and
Yeah.
quieting ourselves,
Hmm.
because Romans 12 2 says, renew your minds.
Yeah.
When we renew our minds, that's some of what you do. You're
Yeah.
renewing your mind when you're saying, I need to quiet and calm down here. I
Yeah.
need to find the Lord with me. I need to just be still and know
Hmm.
that He is God.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I think as Christians we have not had very much training in.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I know for me, when I've got clients that have a lot of trauma, and I'm not trained in that body work. And I've done the somatic work. I have a wonderful coach that I worked with, and breathing was central to it all. And I'll tell them, I go, look, you're not going to accomplish anything when you are escalated.
That's
so you need to de-escalate. So let's do some breathing exercises, because it'll help calm the mind, and everything else will calm down. So I do tell them that. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to accomplish anything if you're angry at one another and yelling at each other at the top of your voice. So yeah, no, I think this is really wonderful. I can't believe we're winding up right now. And as we wind up and wind down in part one, and in part two, we will talk a little bit more about some practical steps and tips for people, things that they can do to get going, right? How can people get in touch with you? And if they have any more questions, or they want a consultation, or what are your offers, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay. We have a website, triagecare.com. And on that website, it explains our story. And it also explains what we do, which Genesis is part of that. And we have the Joy Connective, which is also on there. But there's a free, you just go to the bottom, scroll to the bottom, and you can get in touch with us, and we do a free consultation. And so that's probably the best way to find us, is at triagecare.com.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. And thank you so much, Marty, for being here. I'm really excited to get into part two and delve more into, all right, so how do we walk appreciation out practically in our daily lives? I've already been incorporating it into my own counseling sessions, my clients, and I recommend your book to them. For those of you that want to get her book, this is Marty's book right here. I love the cover. I know your son designed it. It's really beautiful. And I know you have it on Amazon, correct? And can they also find it on your website as well?
Yes, it is on Amazon, and it's all, you can also find it when you go to our website. Just click on the book and it'll take you right to Amazon.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll have the links in my show notes, so you don't have to remember the website. So it'll be there. And Marty, again, it was so wonderful having you on, and I'm excited for part two.
Oh, Stacy, thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening, and stay tuned next week for part two. Thank you for joining me on True You Ministries. If today's episode encouraged you, be sure to subscribe and share it with a friend who needs hope and healing. Remember, freedom is possible, healing is real, and your identity in Christ is worth walking in. Until next time, keep breaking lies, healing deep, and walking free.